What's up, gamers, and welcome back to another Gamer Jooce episode. You know we always get straight on into the content, and it is no different today. Number 10. EA Sports MMA. Out of all the reasons you would think a game could get banned, we would have never guessed it was because a country's law prohibits the marketing of energy drinks. That's right, and poor EA Sports MMA made the mistake of filling an entire game with energy drink ads. It's MMA, what would you expect? MMA, or mixed martial arts, is overflowing with sponsors and company branding. You know, just like other professional sports. We can concede that some of the product placement is questionable, and we know that several European nations are against beverages like Red Bull and Monster as they deem as a public hazard, but banning a game for it seems a little too extreme. The strangest, or not, depending on how you look at it, is that EA refused to alter the game in any way to allow it to be released in Denmark. Number 9. Command & Conquer Generals. We can sort of get why certain countries would have problems with military-type games that depicted them as murderous, villainous, bad guys in the story, but Command & Conquer General didn't deserve this cruel fate. Command & Conquer General got banned in China for smearing the image of China and the Chinese army. And the most ridiculous part about this is that they're not the antagonists of the game. Depending on how the story plays out from each perspective, you can actually defend China from terrorism. China is literally a protagonist, and the game glorifies the People's Liberation Army. Also, you'll find that the China campaign has you destroy enemies like the Three Gorges Dam and the Hong Kong Convention and Exhibition Center in your fight against invading terrorist organizations. In China, there's an entire censorship task force that was established in order to monitor the content of imported games to catch any offensive or any particularly politically sensitive content. The only foreign video games China's ministry allows is ones that comply with Chinese national conditions and have quote-unquote positive effects on your people's mentality. Not surprisingly, this isn't the only time an unsuspecting game has fallen under the hand of China's strict censorship. Other games like Heart of Iron were also banned for distorting history and damaging China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Just take a look at the difference between the Western Fortnite we're all familiar with and Chinese Fortnite. You'll notice the glaring differences. Number 8. Marc Ecco's Getting Up, Content Under Pressure. Words like the glorification of graffiti were used when the government of Australia explained why they banned Marc Ecco's Getting Up, Content Under Pressure. We do admit it's not the best game in the market, but that's a more plausible reason to ban it. Marc Ecco is actually a fashion designer, and he gave the game permission to do a video game about a young graffiti artist who uses tagging as a way to fight against a tyrannical dystopian government. Initially, the game was released in Australia under the MA rating, but right after it hit the shelves, the Federal Attorney General announced the ban. He claimed that the game had high-impact themes and glorified graffiti. Other games like Leisure Suit Larry and Postal were banned for this same reason, but for some other reason, Ecco hit a particular nerve. Even after the game tried to appeal for an MA 15+ rating, the Federal Attorney General refused and denied the developers the right to distribute it because it gave instructions of illegal street tagging. But apparently, illegal street racing games like Need for Speed Most Wanted were legal enough to be granted a G rating a few months before Marc Ecco was banned. Number 7. Fallout 3. At number 7 is another game that met an unfortunate welcome in Australia, Fallout 3. A lot of games end up getting banned from countries and have to either just accept that they won't sell in these countries, or the developers have to edit the game in order to meet that country's standards, especially when it comes to the level of violence the video game is allowed to depict. But a mainstream game such as Bethesda's Fallout 3 was a shock to see it banned from Australia. Australia's Office of Film and Literature Classification outright refused to grant the game a classification rating, meaning they banned it. Their reasoning? The drugs in the game. Thankfully, Bethesda edited the game to meet Australia's classification and was able to be unbanned. Number 6. Injustice: Gods Among Us. Coming in at number 6 is one of the highest selling games in the US and the United Kingdom, Injustice: Gods Among Us. Now, why on earth would both the United Arab Emirates and Kuwait ban this admittedly awesome game? The premise of Gods Among Us is that Superman went crazy after being tricked into killing Lois Lane by the Joker, causing Batman to summon League members from another universe to stop Superman's tyranny and New World Order. Sounds normal so far. Only the United Arab Emirates and Kuwait ordered retailers to not stock the game, without officially giving out any reason. Those retailers speculated that the reason for the ban is because of the title of the game. Injustice: Gods Among Us has gods in the title, which they took as referring to pantheism and not recognizing one true god. Warner Brothers tried to rename the game The Mighty Among Us, but it didn't work. Eventually, the game was released. Number 5. Everquest. Banned because the game takes the player to total nonsense and heavy psychological conflicts because the quests you receive may be good or bad. How far along the ridiculousness scale do you rate this decision? Alright, so next up at number 5 is Everquest. Everquest is a fairly tame MMORPG, at least compared to its competitors. Maybe it's a little addictive, but it's considered one of the greatest video games ever made. The game was initially released around the world in 1999, but nearly a decade later in 2007, the Brazilian federal court banned the game because it encouraged the subversion of public order, and because players could decide whether or not they wanted to be good or evil. They also claimed that Everquest was an attack against the democratic state and the law and was against public security. Since then, the ban is mostly lifted. Number 4. Pokemon Trading Card Game. That's right, you can't legally play Pokemon's trading card game in Saudi Arabia. There are a couple of reasons listed as to why an innocent game like this was banned. The Saudi Arabian government claimed that it's a type of gambling, which, fine, that's an arguable point, but their main beef with the game is that it supposedly promotes Zionism. See, a lot of the Pokemon cards have some resemblance to the Jewish symbol of the Star of David. In truth, Pokemon cards have an identical Japanese symbol that's called a Kogame crest. This symbol dates back to the 5th century and is actually pretty popular in anime and other games. Still, no matter how much this was explained, there remains a widespread ban on both the card games and the game adaptation. Pokemon isn't the only game that's banned in Saudi Arabia. There are tons of others, but God of War particularly stands out. The game God of War is considered blasphemous because it contains the word God in the title. Number 3. Roblox. Nothing is off limits if countries really want to crack down on the smallest details. Coming in at number 3 is the kid-friendly and vibrant Roblox, a game that's just basically an online platform and a game creation system that lets players program games and play different games created by other users. It's generally just a fun time where you get to let your creativity run free, create your own game worlds, and hang out with your friends online. So why would the United Arab Emirates ban such a seemingly harmless game? The UAE banned it because children who are playing could stumble upon foul language. Now, even if players somehow get access to the game through a VPN, if they ever get caught, they could face a hefty fine of $13,000. Number 2. Dead Rising. Nearly at the top. Sliding in at number 2 is Dead Rising 3. We all know that Dead Rising is a franchise full of open-world adventures and some frankly over-the-top gore. The game had players searching for supplies and weapons in their quest for survival, so fighting off hordes of the undead was a given, and especially since the Dead Rising 3 open world was made to be a lot bigger than its predecessors. In comparison with the third title, the first two Dead Rising are more like cartoons, so when Dead Rising 3 came around with its realistic graphics and violent and gory attitude towards zombies, Germany put an end to Germans partaking in such morbid violence. All 3 Dead Rising entries became either outright banned or heavily censored in Deutschland because of how human-like the enemies were. And to think Germany is one of the biggest video game markets in Europe. Out of all the crazy, violent, and gory games in the world, did Dead Rising really deserve this treatment? And finally, at number 1, Animal Crossing: New Horizons. This one is personal. At number 1, we have the 2020 April ban for Animal Crossing: New Horizons in, you guessed it, China.
Even if you've never played Animal Crossing, you for sure know that it's one of the most wholesome games in history. Your adorable character walks and runs around your island, you build your dream house and customize your island to your wildest fantasies, and you basically just try to live a peaceful life, catching fish and chatting with your animal friends. Why on earth would any country ban a game like this? The customization of the game is what got it banned. See, players had created and posted on social media anti-government messages in-game with a custom pattern tool by Hong Kong activists. They were promoting pro-democracy messages, slogans, and attacked Chinese President Xi Jinping and Chief Executive Carrie Lam. In response, China pulled the game from the stores, but you can still sort of find it on China's gray market. Alrighty gamers, we hope you enjoyed the list because that's going to wrap it up. If you did in fact watch the video all the way through, we appreciate you so much and hope you enjoyed it enough to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell because we're always releasing more content. As always, we'll see you in the next one.